Delarada.
Here.
Councilwoman Jakeworth.
Here.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Here.
Councilman McPartlin.
Here.
Supervisor Syed.
Here. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Councilwoman McGraw.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to move on to approval of the minutes. First, we have the minutes of the December 17th, 2019 regular meeting. Can I have a motion to approve these minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes, additions, or subtractions to these minutes? Okay, seeing no changes to the minutes. All those in favor of these minutes signified by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And these minutes are approved. Next, we have the minutes of the January 14th, 2020 special organizational meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? And we also had the amended minutes put in our packets. So motion to approve the amended minutes attached here too.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes to these amended minutes? Okay, seeing no changes warranted. All those in favor signified by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And those minutes are approved. We're now going to move on to privilege of the floor. Privilege of the floor is now open. If you would like to speak, please state your name and address for the record.
Gail King. I live at 1633 Balltown Road. I have an office for electrolysis, permanent hair removal at 2215 Knott Street. I would like to move my office to Crescent Road, and that's what I'm speaking about tonight. Gail King Electrolysis is requesting permission to have a cosmetology electrolysis, permanent hair removal business at 2220 Crescent Road. Reason for the request is because of the many months of proposed construction and permanently reduced parking due to the addition of another lane and sidewalk on the south side of Knott Street. The good news is the proposed new location is a first floor office that will be easy to access, quiet, private, with parking. This property is zoned CN. Gail King Electrolysis is an existing business and I think a good neighbor for many years. The additional parking near the access road will be dedicated to 2220 Crescent Road and the rear of 2215 Knott Street. And the owners are Gail and Robert King. 2215 Knott Street will benefit from the control and retention of snow and stormwater at 2220 Crescent Road. Thank you. Gail King.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
My name is Bob Winchester, and while I'm not a resident of the town of Niskayuna, I've worked in the town for more than 50 years. And I'm here to briefly explain a study I did at the request of NCAP on mental health in the town of Niskayuna. And also, and perhaps more important than that, is to thank you for serving in your public office. Having served in public offices throughout the state and in the local area, I know that it takes time away from families and it's demanding in ways that the public seldom sees. And I want to thank you for serving. For more than 57 years, I worked with family, students, and businesses in this community and with community social service agencies. For 36 years, I worked in the Niskayuna School District and then served 9 more years on the school board. In addition, I've served on a national task force on drugs and alcohol and served as president of state organizations I served as a consultant for the Centers for Disease Control. I was on the founding board of MVP Health Plan, and I've done an awful lot of things in healthcare and healthcare delivery throughout New York State and in the capital region. But most importantly, I've learned much from the students, families, and community agencies and businesses with which I've worked. And I'm very grateful for that. I often say that the best part of my job was the fact that every day I went to school and my students taught me something in multiple ways, and I really appreciated that. In the late 1970s, in addition to all of that, I have worked with Niskayuna police chiefs since Jack McGovern was police chief, and two of them are former students of mine. So I really feel connected to this community in many, many ways. In the late 1970s and early 80s, Niskayuna High School lost 4 boys to suicide in 5 years. And after the 4th death, I went to the superintendent of schools and asked if I could do a mental health needs assessment of the community. It just got to be absolutely unbearable to walk into a classroom and see that empty chair sitting there every day and know a little bit about what had happened. I won't go into the details, but it took me 2 years to be able to get that sabbatical. And when I did the sabbatical, I interviewed several hundred people. I went to the National Mental Health Center in Washington, D.C. and did some studying. And I interviewed a number of people who were called key informants in the community. When I came back to the superintendent with the report, he said, "What are we going to do with this?" And I said, "Well, why don't you invite people into a room and have them criticize it?" And he was very happy to do that. And so more than 125 people were invited. Many of them were on the town council. All the town council was invited, but other areas were invited as well. And the recommendations in that sabbatical and the findings included a lot of things, one of which was that Niskayuna ought to build a building like this that would house all the services and serve as a central point for the community. Other people had found that as well, but I want to point that out. After that, as a result of that sabbatical, people began things like Niska Day, NCAP, programs at the high school and the middle school, programs in the community. And as a result of not what I did, but what other people did, we did not lose a single student while they were in high school for the next 30 years. We lost students, sadly, right out of high school, but we managed to keep kids alive to graduate from high school. About 5 years ago, I began to become aware that there were quite a few adult suicides happening in the community. And as I became aware of them and I started to talk about it, I realized that there were far more happening than I knew about. And I was concerned. I was concerned because when a suicide happens, it's not just that individual that we lose and what happens to the family. It's what happens to the neighbors, the people who work with that individual, and the children who live in the community that we find there's a dramatic effect that is profound. Without going into the details about the study tonight, which is not my intent, I want to make you aware of this report. I have given copies to the supervisor. I've given a copy to the supervisor, and I'll leave another copy here tonight. It's my hope that after you have a chance to look at it, that we'll have a chance to discuss it and the findings and what part the town might play in this. I do want to point out this is not a town problem. It's a community problem. And the study was done of both the town and the school district. So that's 3 counties, 5 towns, a hamlet, and there's only one place in this community that is only one zip code in this community that is totally included in this study. and that's the hamlet of Alplaus. Everybody else, parts of the zip codes are outside of the area that's studied and parts are inside. So statistics are very hard to find on this, but what we did was we did a study. We had 4 individuals who then critiqued the study. A psychiatrist who lives in the town, all of whom lived in the town. A psychiatrist who lives in the town, a very prominent physician who lives in the town, a social worker who lives in the town, and a young nurse who lived in the town. And there are reasons for each of those. If you would like me, I can explain them. The study has been presented a number of places. Quite frankly, very few actions have been taken place as a result of it, and I'm distraught by that. But I understand that everyone is busy and has things that they need to do. The final review of this report was provided by Dr. Michael Hogan, who was chairman of the President's Commission on Mental Health, and he was director of mental health for New York State. He's also a graduate of Niskayuna who grew up in the Niskayuna School District. I'd like to read what he said about the report so you understand the significance of it. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're great.
Okay. The Niskayuna Mental Health Needs Assessment is a very good piece of work. This is his specific quote that's in the document. The methodology is sound and the number of people interviewed is very good. The report is correct in that the state and national databases do not have this kind of information. The findings, starting with the impact of anxiety, depression, and economic trends, are consistent with what we are learning from large-scale epidemiological studies. It may surprise people that these problems can exist in an exceptional community like Niskayuna, but the report's conclusion that the town's culture can even be an impediment to the people seeking care is on target. The community's exceptionalism does confer some protective factors, but positives are not an inoculation against mental health problems, and mental health needs go unmet everywhere. The report's ideas for consideration are very strong. They're completely in line with the best thinking at CDC and the suicide prevention world. There's nothing that I would abandon. Obviously, some of the action steps, such as simple training, might begin sooner than others. I believe there are some resources at the state level that could assist, and I think the Schenectady County Department of Mental Health could also be supportive. I thank you for the help. Several people on the panel have helped in the documentation of this report and were consulted before as the report was being built. I want to appreciate what you do, and I'm not laying this at your feet. This is a community problem that needs to be addressed by the community, and my hope is that at some point in time, we can have a discussion about the findings of the report and any questions you have about how the report was conducted. But again, I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for the time and effort you put forth, and I hope that there will be some time at which we can have a conversation about this report. I'd like to be able to say I have copies for each of you. I don't. I only have one, and plus the one I have given to the supervisor. If you would, I
would like to see it. I participated in it, so I would like to see it.
So I'll leave it here, and if
I
you
promise
would-
to share. How's that, Bob?
We'll make copies.
Great.
Yeah, we'll make
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Bob.
very much.
Yeah, Bill Popino, 1027 Hickory Road. I'd like to thank anybody like you who has served in mental health and in particular suicide prevention. I had 2 cases in the long time that I lived here where I never saw it coming, young man. Another case where they had a specialist psychologist in Niskayuna High School after receiving a note from my daughter, which was clearly troublesome. So I called this guy and he told me exactly what to do about this situation. And we were successful in turning that young man around. So as I say, I'm just very grateful for anybody that works in mental health, in particular suicide prevention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Putnam.
Thank you.
Linda Rizzo, 2229 Fairlawn Parkway. I'm here tonight to tell you that I think it's excellent about this issue of mental health. I think that's a very important factor. I have some concerns. At the last board meeting that I spoke, when I walked out of the meeting, I got verbally insulted. I'm not going to say by who. I'm not going to mention the name. It's a resident, not a public official. And, you know, things were said to me that I made them sick. My letter in the newspaper was sickening. And when I walked away, I kept being followed, yelled at. There were people that witnessed it. Somebody else was also yelled at, but that person can speak for herself. And I was taken aback. I did call your office. I find behavior like that to be counterproductive to public civil discourse. I was being attacked for two issues. One was I disagree with a board member being here and on the school board at the same time. And I was attacked for my letter in the Gazette stating that, and also my disagreement with the superintendent of schools contract, which both the Gazette, mind you, had an editorial on both and severely criticized both issues. My point is this. If this is the way we are going in this town, we're in big trouble. We're in serious trouble. I'm a Democrat. I'm a committee person. But what I am addressing has nothing to do with politics. Nothing at all. And I have had disagreements with my own party. Denise knows. We always don't agree. I haven't always agreed with Bill. But I have to tell you, I have never been threatened by either the county chair or the town chair. I have never been told, if you don't shut up, if you don't do this, we'll remove you from the assessment review committee, you'll never get reappointed. I never had that experience before. That concerned me. Now, when I was attacked, I was told, well, that's what I wanted to discuss with you on the phone, Yasmin, because I really didn't want to discuss it here. But I was told that, well, Yasmin, the supervisor, agrees with commingling the school board with the town board. And this is great. And we support her. And she had this forum with the superintendent of schools. Well, I know that. I didn't see any point to that forum. Nothing came of it. But okay, it happened. I think the problem that we are seeing is that this commingling is bad. Now, this type of attitude may happen at a school board meeting. I don't know. The school board has changed a lot than when Mr. Winchester was on it, because you don't see school board members doing what he's doing, interested in children, not politics. So a lot has changed. And I have the deepest respect for people like Mr. Winchester, who served on our school board, because they rose up through the ranks. They cared about children. They cared about the staff. But my concern is now we're in a political, convoluted mess. And I'm upset because I don't only disagree with a board member being on both boards. I disagreed with the supervisor about her confidential secretary. He's on the school board. Not only is on the school board, but now he wants, and I called you up, Yasmin, about this. He wants to run for political office, for town board. And whether we realize this or not, and even if it's unintentional, we don't want to politically weaponize the supervisor's office. And I'm concerned about this. Gridlock, and I've been upset about the gridlock issue, but it takes two to tango. And my point is simply, how are board members, if you want to bring people together, how are you going to do that when now you've got another school board member in town hall who wants to run for political office and take somebody's seat? How can these people go in there now and share materials with them, talk openly and honestly, because they're facing a political adversary possibly? It's not healthy. We've never had this in our town before. And I've never been as upset or concerned as I am now. First of all, I wasn't upset about being attacked. I don't really care what that person thinks of me. I'm upset at someone strong-arming. I'm upset about someone trying to infringe on somebody's First Amendment rights, civil rights, and constitutional rights. So I don't think much is going to change unless the board really starts to do some addressing on this issue. And what I don't understand, if last year there was gridlock or the year before, we need to have, or you need to have, or it should have been done from the supervisor's office. I would have done it, brought somebody in to give a workshop to try to bring the board together. But for me to be told that this person now, who's the confidential secretary, was going to be his job of bringing the board together. How could he possibly think he's going to bring the board together when he's announced he's running for public office? I mean, anyone who thinks they can bring about a esprit de corps or détente, doing that needs a serious in-service on group dynamics. So I really think that somebody on this board needs to take the initiative to bring somebody in and maybe talk about these issues that maybe it's not a good idea. And my last comment on this is this one thing. And it's not personal. I don't even know Rosemarie Jackwith. I'm against the principle of the issue. If you can have someone serving on both boards, who's to say someone may run and decide, well, I'm going to run for the school board too. When you open the door, you open up Pandora's box. And that's exactly what we have now. And in closing, I just want to say, I want to thank the town board for not changing the town board meeting and leaving it on Tuesday. I really think you absolutely did the right thing. The school board changed its meeting, apparently. I don't even know if they had a resolution for it. I think they're supposed to, but who knows with them. But I want to thank you for doing that, because I am a firm believer that as an adult, and we teach our children this, when you make a decision, you have to solve the conflict of your decision. Not any organization, not any person, but you. And you have to decide, well, I can't make both meetings. I may have to step down. You cannot expect the world to fall over and make accommodations. And I'm not going to bring this up again about working on both boards, but I do think this attacking people on the way out is a big no-no. It's really a big no-no. The last thing I'm going to say, I got up here and congratulated the board on the roads when we had that major snowstorm. Now, I don't understand for the life of me why. And I did text Denise that Saturday night because I didn't know who I could text and get a response from, to be very honest. My road was a skating board. I skidded and I have four-wheel drive. My street did not get plowed until Monday. Friday night, it came, it started all day Saturday. By Saturday at 6 o'clock, it was a skating rink. No sand was put down. The county was out in full force. Now, I don't understand that. I don't understand what's changed. But the last thing I'm going to say is, I don't think you get this esprit de corps with board members when you take away a committee from someone that's had it for years. And as I said, I haven't always agreed with Denise McGraw. But if it's working, why mess with it? Now, maybe this was just a coincidence that just this time the roads were horrible. It wasn't just my street either. You should have heard some of the people at Hannaford's. It was bad. We have a lot of department chairs in this town. They're making six figures, some of them. I do not believe, though, they should determine who has the committee that they head up as department chair. When we start doing things like that, then you're abdicating as a supervisor your authority. Anybody making six figures should be happy with any board member. So that's all I'm going to say on the issue. I just hope we don't have all of a sudden have this road problem. We never had it before. Now, maybe it's a coincidence, but something went wrong in the last storm. Thank you.
Thank you.
We look like the Bobbsey twins. We didn't plan on this. My name is Lorene Zabin, and I live at 2455 Brookshire Drive. Now, I will say absolutely confirm what Linda Rizzo said at the last board meeting, because I was also, and of course I kind of laughed at it. I said, "What are you talking about?" I had never seen this person at a town board meeting. I'm a pretty frequent attendee. And she unfortunately seemed quite out of sorts. She was a friend of someone on the board who is obviously very interested in the school board. So, I kind of balanced that out. I'm not 5 years old. I said, "What are you talking about? This is ridiculous." Well, it was a verbal attack. She just said, "You two," oh, I can't, I'm not a good actress. Something about, "You shouldn't be doing all this." And I said, "Oh, honey, like I'm a great grandmother. I was trying to calm her down." So, but my point is, seriously, it has been a contentious time. The first board meeting when we had a new representative. And at that time, there were several of us who did not know the complications of being on two elected boards in Niskayuna, which we should have a star after her name. And I don't mean that as an insult. I'm just saying that it does show, I would like to say, a tremendous interest, a lot of volunteer time, because this is not an easy position. And it was assumed, which is not good, you would be retiring or resign because it was not a long time that you were going to continue. But it's a conflict. The school board has a $90 million budget. They want the best for our kids. They have a selected group of parents who want to have their children have a private school education on public funds. Okay, I don't have anybody in school anymore. On the other hand, the town board, in its wisdom, tries to keep taxes down. We do it by kind of funny little means where We try to keep it at 2%, but then we have bond issues where things that we can't put in the budget will bond over a certain length of time. So, we all have our way of taking care of things. But to have a board member who can vote one way for the town and then another way for the school board, I think is a conflict of the taxpayers' money. I mean, we're dealing with a very small town. We have 8,800 residents. We have 22,000 people, including children and old people. So we're not we don't have a lot of people here to support the interests that we all want. So it is a dilemma. And when I find, whether it was true or not, that the town board was thinking of changing its town board meetings, I was kind of taken back. And then I heard that the school board was very graciously inclined to change their meetings. Well, I don't go to town board. I don't go to school board meetings. So it wasn't for my accommodation. It wasn't for your accommodation. It was for a member's town board accommodation so that she may attend both meetings. Okay, does it work? Did you want to do it? Well, I think the town would have had a little fuss with that. It wasn't, to me, a wise choice. If you want to run for the town board, this is pretty prestigious. If you want to run for the school board, well, pick your pick. It's one or the other. And unfortunately, I did hear that someone who is presently employed in the town of Niskayuna is thinking of running for a further office sitting on the town board. Well, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with the fact that the school board of Niskayuna has now very influential people seeping into the democratic process of town governments or local governments, county governments. And I don't quite understand that. Don't we have enough terrific people around here to run for these offices? Do they all have to go into one little pile? That's all that I'm going to say, except I was also surprised because normally at one meeting or the other, we find out who the chairs are of the departments. And normally the youngest or the newest member of the town board gets the senior citizen group or whatever you call your recreation committee. And that's a pretty extensive committee, I must say. And then the more experienced members, have stayed on their boards. I don't know anyone else who got changed. Mr. Delarada has economics. Mr. I forgot your name, but you have police. So, but the point is that, Denise had two pretty involved committees, and I understand that. But I'm just saying that it was kind of a shock. That's all. I mean, luckily we only have one attorney, so he isn't moving around too much. So as I said, but I would like to know if there have been any other changes of the town board members who will supervise the departments. And I also want to know when those committee meetings are. I mean, I happen to be a very early riser, and in some cases I can get to those 8:00 meetings, but I don't know when they are. I think you do it on purpose sometimes. But anyway, the last thing I want to tell you, and it has to do with zoning. We have always had a zoning code enforcement officer. And up to, maybe a couple of years or so, the one person we had, Charlie Goldstock, I don't know whether you remember him, but he was our zoning officer. And he'd go around with his little book, write down all the codes, all the things that were needed to be enforced, bring them back, and the inspectors would go out and take care of it. Well, we haven't had that recently, except during a November election. And I'm bringing it up because there's been so much contention but it's something the town needs to do. People called up at 9:30 in the morning and said that there were pop-up signs about the November election. I'm not accusing anybody because you people certainly had enough to do just trying to get yourselves elected, let alone go around in the middle of the night putting up these signs all over the place that were not identified. Didn't say who they were for. It didn't say, it said what they were against. It also didn't dignify the party. Well, personally, I did call at 9:30 in the morning, and I thought I talked to the zoning enforcement officer, who happens to be a building inspector. Well, I don't know, maybe the controls are so tight around here that you can't get a drink of water unless you get permission. So he obviously went to the department head and he was denied permission to go and pick up these signs, which infuriated me. And in discussing this personally, I was told that the department head has the final word on the zoning code enforcement. I didn't know a planner had that authority. And if so, then we have to do something else. We'll have to take up these signs that are offensive and not regulated in the town. As you know, the town appearance and the residents that live here deserve to have the laws enforced. And if I have to go through, well, we went to the Board of Election and they agreed those signs were illegal. Didn't say they were wrong, didn't say the content was whatever. The signs were wrong and had to come down. That was now about 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We're closed Saturday, Sunday, Monday was the last day before election. And whether it had any influence or not, I don't know. I know how I voted. But I was offended that we had to look at this. And we're getting to be honky-tonky with our campaigns and signs all over the place. It's a wonder we don't have a helicopter the way they do on beaches, vote for so-and-so. I'm going on, but I do want you to know that luckily, hopefully, I can write letters, I can speak my mind, I can try to be of some historical interest, even though we have a historian. I only go back 40-some years, and the historian wants to go back a little further. But I'm very serious. We have problems. I'm looking at maps to see how Whitmire Drive can possibly come out someplace else so that they don't have to use that road. Mm-hmm. Those are things you people should be doing. Maybe we could get a little bit of that park, that preserve that the state took. Maybe they'd give us a little roadway there. People that live here love here. And I would really hope that you would start to stop thinking about higher office, more workers in the sewer water. Every time we get a board meeting, we're either hiring somebody for that. We have more darn employees. It's amazing. And now we've got summer coming and we'll have all those recreation kids running around too. So it isn't as if we're not interested. But you have to be interested in us. And I really hope you are. I want those meeting notices. Thank you.
Thank you.
Leslie Gold, 1919 Pawtucket Ave. Ms. Jackwith already knows that I have a concern about people serving on both the school board and the town board. I'd like to explain what my concerns are, because something that's maybe statutorily permissible does not necessarily mean it's a good idea. In School boards are supposed to be apolitical. Indeed, the education process in this state is supposed to be apolitical, as evidenced by the fact that the Commissioner of Education is selected by the Board of Regents, not by the governor. Almost every other agency, the head of it is selected directly by the governor, subject to approval, but it's the governor's pick. Not so with the education department. The whole intent of that was to keep it a distance away from being under the thumb of the governor and to keep it from becoming a political football. There are states where that's not the case and where you have political decisions deciding that we don't like that version of history, we want something else that's more favorable to our views, that kind of thing. So it's a huge issue. So I would hate to see the school board politicized. And I'm sure that's not the councilwoman's intent, but it plays into that. And in the case of the town of Niskayuna and Niskayuna School District, there's another concern because the boundaries of the two are not the same. Not all of the town of Niskayuna is served by the Niskayuna School District. And parts of the Niskayuna School District are not in the town. Howapplause for one, a fair part of Rexford, another part of Glenville that's not officially either community as I understand it. There's a part of Colony that is in the Niskayuna School District. And to me, that automatically sets up a conflict of interest. You can't do right by both groups of people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone else would like to speak.
Joseph Hatter, 2053 Lexington Avenue, Lexington Parkway. I'd like to thank Bob for all the work he's done for this community. He's a stand-up guy. He sees a problem, he takes care of it, and the work is very much appreciated. So I was over at the soccer fields up there at the end of Center Road this afternoon. And there's a lot of landmines there, if you know what I mean. People are, they let their dogs out there and they run all over, and it's great for the dogs, but they're not picking up after themselves, and it's not going to be healthy for the kids when they go back there. So that's that. The thing on the bringing in waste from out of town, that really bothers me. I'll go over a few things. I'll do a little ranting. A lot of people seem to be ranting today, so let me do it some too. In the beginning, in 2016, you had to restore the wastewater treatment plant, the District 6 wastewater treatment plant. So you did that. You were told a story by the salesman at the time that you could bring material in from out of town, and you could bring it to the wastewater treatment plant to an anaerobic digester there, and it would generate biogas. You could extract some methane from it. You could use it to heat up the process that the anaerobic process, and you could also use it to run a generator and generate electricity. But the problem, Glenville, not Glenville, Johnstown was the plant up there in Johnstown. They do that, anaerobic digestion. They have material from two yogurt companies that are maybe 2,000 feet away from the sewer plant up there. And what they do is they take their waste material and they throw it down a dedicated sewer line. It goes right into the wastewater treatment plant, and it goes into there, it's stored, and then it goes into their anaerobic digesters, and they generate electricity and heat for the process. It doesn't take any energy to throw the stuff into the sewer. What you guys want to do, and you didn't look at this at the time, you just bought this guy's story. Hook, line, and sinker. I tell you, Nobody did any work on this at all. If you go to any other board in town, you're presenting them with a problem. They study that thing to death. The school board, they have all kinds of experts, and they think of this, they think of that, think of the other thing. You guys did nothing. You just bought the guy's story, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to truck this stuff into town. Well, you never figured out that water weighs 8.345 pounds per gallon. And if you're bringing in 3,000 gallons or 5,000 gallons at the time, you're looking at something up to 21 or 22 tons of this stuff. Now, to transport something that heavy requires a real big truck. And those trucks are called Class 8 tanker trucks. They're semis. They're so long, they're semis. They break when they make a turn. So now you're bringing these trucks into town. You have one coming from Pepsi. You're bringing them in. They're going up one side of town and down the other. They're going up Route 7. They're going then up Balltown Road, and then they're going down. You're going back down River Road to Whitmire Drive, and I'll get to that later. It's a residential neighborhood. You got this truck going through all kinds of residential neighborhoods. You got, according to your plans in the budget, you got 3 more coming in, so you'll have 4 trucks coming in. According to the discussions that were maybe 2 years ago, you're looking to bring in somewhere around $800,000 to $1 million with based on fees. Right now, you're charging Pepsi 4 cents a gallon. You're not going to get it on that. You probably have to up your fee. I don't know how you can do it. You take the Pepsi case. They're getting rid of it. They were getting rid of the soda pop, whatever way they were getting rid of it, and it was costing them something. Now they're not going to change their behavior. They're a business. They're not going to change their behavior because unless you come in at a better price. Now with the Pepsi, you give them a price, and then they have to transport it. They have the truck. They have the driver, et cetera, et cetera. That's all it costs. Your price has to come in what their old price was just to get rid of it, the way they were getting rid of it. So you think that you're going to get a good price from these people, or you're going to maybe strong arm them or something? You're not going to do that. You have to come under their price, whatever it's costing them to get rid of whatever stuff they're getting rid of. You have to come under that to get their business, their businessmen. All right, so, okay, so now you have these trucks, and we were told that these trucks were going to be small trucks. They were going to be no bigger than a vacuum truck. The biggest vacuum truck made is under 33,000 pounds. These trucks that you bring it in are 80,000 pounds, considerably more. When you have a road, the road is deteriorated by the traffic on the road. And engineers have worked out formulas. And if you use a vacuum truck, 33,000 pounds as a standard, and it causes so much, a certain amount of damage to a road. Well, this truck going down that same road will do 15 times more damage to that road. So that little road down there on Whitmire Drive is going to be demolished shortly as soon as you bring those 4 trucks in there every day. You bring 4 trucks in there, you bring 4 trucks in there each day. That's like bringing in 60 vacuum trucks each day. It's like 300 vacuum trucks going up and down that road every week. That's 15,000 vacuum trucks going up and down that road every year. That road isn't going to hold up. That road was built in the mid-1960s. All right, it was built on wetland. Okay, What kind of a foundation is under that road? That's minimum. It was never designed for these big trucks. It's 20 feet wide. You made some patches at the intersection with River Road. You made some patches there at the right-hand turn. That turn, when you design a road, it's a two-way road. You have to design it for two-way traffic. Two trucks, two semis cannot pass each other at that elbow without going off the road. The road isn't wide enough. It's, I think, 34 feet, the widest. It has to be over 40 feet for these trucks to pass each other. That's the way you design. You design worst case. You don't design any other way. The trucks they're 108 inches wide. The travel lane on that 20-foot wide road is 120 inches. So you got 12 inches to fiddle around with there. Do you think two trucks going one way, one truck going one way and the other truck going the other way at 30 miles an hour, do you think it's safe for them to pass at a foot away between them? I don't. Do you think it's safe for that big truck to go down the road with a car coming against it? Do you think that's going to intimidate those people? I mean, maybe the people that live on Whitmire Drive, maybe they'll get used to these trucks. But the people that go to the state park, I mean, that it's all a random sort of thing. You can't have, that road should be at least, according to state standards for a major commercial driveway for which it is, which you're turning it into. You're just doing it. Like I say, no studies, no information, nothing. You're just doing it because you can. So now I lost my train of thought. But anyway, so these people are going to be intimidated by those trucks coming down the road at 30 miles an hour. Trying to drive in there or drive out of there. Now, the thing that really bothers me is the situation with the people at Whitmire Drive. They have bought homes there. They like the country setting. I personally don't care if I like it a little bit more busy, but that has value to some people. With those trucks going back and forth, what's going to happen to the country setting? It's not going to be a country setting anymore. So the value of their house is going to go down. Will a young family moving into town, will they look for a home on Whitmire Drive when you have these 80,000-pound trucks going up and down the road for 4 hours a day when they have young children? No, they won't buy there. So you're taking the value. I mean, you're just doing it. You're just taking the value of their homes and you're diminishing it. Now they may be leveraged on that home. They may have mortgages. They may have, for example, maybe a $200,000 mortgage, and now you're devaluing their home. So now they're paying for a $2,000 mortgage on a home that might be, I don't know, $180,000. They may have they may have drawn out equity from their homes to send the kid to college or something. So now they really owe a lot of money on their home, but the value, and they use that value to get the loan, and now the value is gone. And I don't think that 5 people in this town should have the power to mess with somebody's property the way you guys are just doing it, and you're just doing it, and it's wrong. So I'm finished. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone else would like to speak. And final call on privilege of the floor. If you would like to speak, do so now. Seeing no one left willing to speak, I'm going to close privilege of the floor. We're going to move on to our public hearing. Will the clerk please call the public hearing?
A public hearing on proposed increase and improvements of facilities of Consolidated Water District Number 1 in the town of Niskuna, Schenectady County, New York, $975,000.
The public hearing is now open. If anyone would like to speak during the public hearing, please approach the lectern, state your name and address for the record. Second call on the public hearing. If you would like to speak, you can do so now. Sure.
How many residents are connected to the sewer district on the water district, excuse me, the number 1? I
In
think
one, it's smaller than 6. Matt,
this is smaller than 6.
yes.
So it doesn't have anything to do with 6.
No, it doesn't. It's, and it's a mix of folks who go into the city and go, so how big is one? Oh, this is water one. I'm sorry. We were
It's the
talking about
water.
sewer.
I'm
so
sorry, I said sewer. Originally, they used,
I knew what the
together.
resolution was. I was thinking sewer. So Matt, how many people? Oh, yeah, it was the opposite of what I said. Excuse me.
Well, this is what we have to pay, not, or is this for the county? I mean, I don't quite understand the facility in the town. Okay, so
These are for capital improvements.
is this a bond or what is this?
Yes. Yep. This is a bonded item and it includes well redevelopment. It also includes replacement of water mains and I believe it's also equipment.
So
And so they're all unique to Water District 1.
these would be water mains in this unit, you're saying?
Correct.
that
Yes.
Connect to this. Are we aware of any new housing developments that would be going into that district, going into that water instead of 6?
Well, it's most of the town connects to Water 1. A certain portion of the town gets their water from the city.
Okay.
But so yes, if we do have any new developments, it's more than likely that they would be connecting through Water District 1.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The public hearing is still open if anyone else would like to speak. And last call on the public hearing. If you would like to speak, do so now. Seeing no one left willing to speak, I'm going to close the public hearing. We're now going to move on to our committee reports. We're going to begin with Councilwoman Jakewith.
Thank you, Supervisor. I spent the last few weeks attending legislative committee and subcommittee and advisory committee meetings, such as the Historical Committee, Tree Council, Conservation Advisory, et cetera, so as to gain a greater understanding of the work being done by our staff and our community volunteers and how it's all interconnected and supports the overall well-being of our town and residents. Thank you to the supervisor, my fellow town board members, and the various department heads for facilitating tours of the highway department, water and sewer operations, public safety, town planning, assessment, engineering, et cetera, all the departments. I'm very impressed by the people who work here and the work I've been witness to thus far. I've been asked by the supervisor to act as the liaison or chair to a newly merged committee that encompasses transportation, parks, and recreation. We met on January 2nd, and I'm happy to report on the following. New signage at the dog park has been installed. The Phil Cognetti Memorial sign has also been installed at Blatnick Park. Christmas tree pickup is ongoing and will continue through the end of January. In conjunction with the Public Safety Committee, we discussed purchasing additional speed signs along the lines of those suggested by a town resident at the last town board meeting in December. And our highway superintendent is looking into those and will report back as we want to have additional speed signs throughout town. We discussed a requested no parking sign at the entrance of Schwaber, for which we'll be having a public hearing. Highway crews are currently out patching potholes and doing catch basin repairs. A large backyard drainage project was completed on County Clare Lane, And due to the weather, crews have been able to work on tree trimming and residents' requests, including near my house this morning. I heard them on Knott Street, not far from my home. Park crews have been working on clearing down trees behind River Road Park and trimming along the bike path. We discussed participation in various community programs, ski club, January and February programs such as senior fitness and Tai Chi, as well as senior programs, which included 2 talks with our town historian, Dennis Brennan. I attended the first meeting of the 2020 Farmers Market Committee on this past Tuesday, the 21st, and discussions are underway to expand the market to 8 to 10 consecutive Saturdays starting in July and remaining at the co-op. At the last meeting, a resident, I think it was Lorraine, asked about a report and update from the county legislature, and I did have a communication with our county legislator, Michelle Osterlich, who wanted me to report on behalf of the legislature that they are still engaged in, they've had about 30 meetings with business leaders and community members related to that project in front of the co-op. It is not going to happen this year at the earliest. It's not going to happen this year. At the earliest, it'll happen spring, summer of 2021. And the county legislator, Sarah Mae Pratt, Tom Constantine, and Michelle Osterlich will be coordinating with the town board and the supervisor about coming in and giving us an update, a further update, but not happening this year at all. And so in that regard, when the Farmers Committee met, we were able to plan. We're still going forward with the co-op farmers market this year. In closing, I'd like to thank Matt Yetto and the Water and Sewer Department for being such great team players over the last several years and assisting the Highway Department with snow removal responsibilities at Town Hall. There had been discussions of contracting for snow removal services at a cost of $21,000 and change. Much to his credit, Ray Smith insisted that the town not expend those monies, and his department will be taking charge of the snow removal at Town Hall. Thank you to Ray and his department for that. Of course, that will necessitate a reprioritization of snow removal at other town facilities, and Ray will be reporting on that at our next meeting. And speaking of that, the next meeting of the Transportation, Parks, and Recreation Committee will be Wednesday, February 5th at 8 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're now going to move on to Councilman Delarada.
Thank you, Supervisor. I chair the Economic Development and Historical Preservation Committee. Our next meeting will be Friday, February 7th, and that's at 8:15 a.m. here in the Schaefer Room. It is the first Friday of every month. We would handle something like the code enforcement that was brought up at privilege of the floor. If you can't make that meeting, please feel free to send myself an email and Ms. Roberts an email. We can put that on the agenda and make sure it's something that's covered. Things that are going on right now, as you may know, Price Chopper in Mohawk Commons, as well as many other Price Choppers around the area, are upgrading to their Market 32 platform, which is very exciting. LT's is being taken over by the La Mexicana, which is currently on State Street. They will continue to be on State Street. They have a wonderful small Mexican restaurant there with a Mexican grocery. Wonderful place. I've been there more than a handful of times. They will be taking over LT's. They are keeping the LT in the name, I believe, as a courtesy to the LT franchise and family, but that will be completely different than the LTs that is there right now. So we'll be looking forward to that over the next several months. They did receive planning board approval, and the Holocaust Memorial has returned to the planning board. So that is up for possible final site plan approval on February 10th for anybody that is interested in attending that. Rivers Ledge has broken ground. That's a great project in Niskayuna, a really 180-degree turn for a piece of property on the Mohawk River. You'll also see a resolution on tonight for some improvements to Aqueduct Park. Those kind of go hand in hand for that area of the waterfront. Gail King, as you know, is looking to convert her multifamily apartment building into a mixed-use building with shared parking. That was on for a public hearing tonight, and I think that's a wonderful project. We also work on code amendments, so if anybody has any suggestions or ideas, please forward them to myself or to Ms. Robertson of the Planning Department. And we will again be meeting again Friday, February 7th at 8:15 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're now going to move on to Councilwoman McGraw.
Thank you, Supervisor. It's a busy time at Water and Sewer. There's a lot going on in the Town Engineering Department, Public Works. Today, the State Department of Environmental Conservation performed their annual evaluation of our wastewater treatment plants, and it did very well. The feedback was outstanding. The biogas production that we heard a little bit about earlier from some folks continues to increase, and it's thanks to that, they're cutting our energy costs over there at that large facility. Our water meter replacements, that has been a project, an ongoing project for us over the years. We continue to move forward on those, helping some folks save water, and for us, for the town to be able to more accurately bill and get the receivables in. So we're moving forward with that. I think folks had seen an email. We're going to be having an emergency preparedness program on March 2nd at 6:30. It was originally going to be in this room. However, it booked so quickly, it did, and within hours, the program was filled up. So I'm looking for a bigger room. We'll probably go down to the community center. And we're probably going to have a second date. I know Lori Peretti and Bill put it up online, and by 3:00 in the afternoon, it was fully booked. So we're going to move on to a second date and also a change of location. So please stay tuned. Those, I was hoping to have them tonight. We're have them later tomorrow, probably. There's a new brochure for the recycling center. It's an update to a fantastic project we did about 10 years ago. Leslie helped create this one. It's back. It's better than ever. It's updated with some costs as they relate to what the town pays to get rid of the waste that we take in at the recycling center. And about 10 years ago, we really had a renewed effort around that facility and getting attention for it. We're going to revisit that. Some folks who were on the committee last time may be asked to help with that and do some, open houses over there and try to get folks in there and see it, because transfer center is, a word, it's just something that most people aren't familiar with. And I think it's a wonderful facility, and people in this community are very concerned about the environment, as we hear over and over again at each meeting. And just highlighting what they do there in the recycling that you can do at a very reasonable cost is really something that we just want to try to highlight for new residents of the town. Another issue that has been of great concern is cable TV access to this community. We were hoping to have a representative from Spectrum here tonight. It will be before our next meeting at 6:00, and an email about that will go out tomorrow. He just booked with us today. So I know that is an issue that is of great concern to many people. I think that is all I have. Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you very much. We're now going to move on to Councilman McPartlin.
Thank you, Supervisor. At our Police and Public Safety Committee meeting on January 7th, operationally, we discussed the new discovery laws that took effect in 2020 here in the state of New York. Some of the other things we discussed operationally are some of our officers with some of their compensation and payroll issues. You'll see later tonight a resolution regarding one of those for some unpaid military time that has to get straightened out. Traffic car, we're going to be dedicating one particular police car to traffic in the town. Traffic and speeding has been brought to our attention by our residents, and even all of us know ourselves about the increased traffic in town. So we're putting out a traffic safety car. That will be happening mid-February, end of February, somewhere in there. We're waiting for one more patrol car to come. It's being outfitted right now. We are also going to be interviewing for a new lieutenant's position. This was budgeted for in the 2020 budget. That will be taking place very soon. Building-wise, we're working with Sonatrol, Ray Smith, and Charlie Bergami on new security here at the building and town hall. We've been having trouble with some of the fobs and some of the entries here, so we're working on getting some estimates together to do some work with that here at town hall. Let's see, training-wise, we always have training. Sergeant Koshan and Sergeant Frenier are going to be taking training in reality-based training that happened January 13th in Oriskany, New York. Again, it's very important for us to continue to train our officers so that we have the best patrol, the best officers we can. Citizen issues, Schwaber Drive, as Councilwoman Jakewith had said, we're going to have a public hearing on some no parking signs at the end of Schwaber, where Schwaber and Balltown meet. It's been brought to our attention, and we've gone over this with the highway department, that they're parking very close to the end of Schwaber and Balltown, which makes it very difficult for buses and cars to pass there. So we're going to have a public hearing looking for some signage there. Also, as Councilwoman Jakewith said, speed signs, we're looking into that with the highway department, moving some of the ones that we have and possibly getting some additional ones. Town code, still winter parking rules are in effect. They're not.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay, Lorraine. No parking, no overnight parking in the winter on our roads. Also, we are going to be having a public hearing for our peddlers and solicitors. We're making some changes to our code for that. You'll be seeing a call for a public hearing about that. We're doing this to change our code to make it similar to what other communities have in our area. Court issues, bail reform, discovery. The judges were there and we discussed that at length. Fire department, we talked to the fire chief was there. He discussed some dispatch radio problems that they've been having. They've also got a grant to fill 2 positions at District 1. They're going to be increasing their daily staffing up there. And that's all I have. Our next meeting will be February 4th at 8 a.m. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to the supervisor's report. I'll be brief because we have a lot of town business left to get to. First, I'd like to highlight the new art installation that is here on display in the boardroom. It will be here from now until April. The art that you see is from artists who participate in Studio E, which is an art therapy program for adults with epilepsy offered through the Epilepsy Foundation of Northeastern New York. So we thank the Epilepsy Foundation, and most especially for the artists, for loaning us their art to display for all of us to enjoy. I also want to address an important issue that was brought up by Lorene Zabin at the last board meeting, at our organizational meeting a few weeks ago, regarding overcrowding of the boardroom. So we take safety very seriously, and as such, our planning board chair, Kevin Walsh, has implemented a protocol. We will be implementing that same protocol here for town board meetings. We know that the room's occupancy is 116 people. So if you do a count, we have 7 special chairs up here at the top, and we'll consider special chairs. We have 75 audience chairs. So if all chairs are filled, including all the ones up here, that leaves standing room for 34 individuals. So as chair of the town board meetings here, if it becomes clear that we are over room capacity, I will hold the start of the meeting until we have no greater occupancy than 116 people. So going forward, if this room is clearly too full and there are more than 34 people standing, we're immediately going to know we're over capacity. We will hold the start of the meeting until we're at capacity. We're also going to hold this protocol true for any group that wishes to use the town boardroom. So for their own purposes, if they would like to use this room, any outside group, they're also going to be expected to comply with this protocol as well. We would hope that they would hold their own meetings until the room is at proper capacity. And I understand that the planning board did do a rough count last night. Not that I think that they had any issues with possible overcrowding, but so far so good. We'll see how it goes. But so yeah, we addressed that. And thank you for pointing that out, Lorene. Okay, I'm going to conclude my supervisor's report. We're going to move on to resolutions. We're going to begin with Resolution 2020-30, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the purchase of desktop computers.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakeworth.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-31, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the renewal contract with Comprehensive Alliance of Workers' Compensation Liability Coverage.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakeworth.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-32, sponsored by Councilwoman Jakewith. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution establishing the daily rental rate for town pavilions.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-33, sponsored by Councilwoman Jakewith. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the submittal of an application for a Schenectady County Initiative Program grant.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-34, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution approving the reconciliation of corporate and residential utility bills for the first half of 2019.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-35, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the change order to a contract for Prime AE for replacement of a water main.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-36, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the purchase of parts from Seaward Equipment for 2020.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-37, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing a contract with County Waste for an on-call hauling service at the transfer station.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-38, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing a change order to a contract with Mid-State Industries.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-39, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution retaining an independent contractor for the water treatment plant.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-40, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to make certain budgetary modifications.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-41, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution establishing fees for the transfer station.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-42, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing payments for sludge dryer repair services to AIT Services.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-43, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution adopting the Town of Niskayuna's ADA transition plan for pedestrian facilities within the public right-of-ways.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just want to thank Councilman Delarada. I want to thank the town planner, the planning department, the highway superintendent, the highway department. There was a lot of work that went into this project. It took months and months. I believe also water and sewer was involved in the team over there. It was really just a great team effort. And thank you very much, Laura, for heading it up.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-44, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing persons to the Architectural Review Board.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-45, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to appoint a person to the position of account clerk in the planning department.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just want to thank Jeannie Fody for her willingness to be able to serve with some more hours over there. It's very much needed. Her department head is quite a lobbyist, so if she ever wants to change professions, I know where she can go. But I think that it was made very clear to us, everything that's going on in your department right now. And as a lot of people will attest, trying to take minutes and coordinate and work with the public, we're averaging 4-hour planning board meetings these days. So Jeannie, thank you very much for your willingness to continue to step up to serve the town. Last summer, you helped manage the pool. This summer, I'm very sad you won't be able to do that. But Jeannie, you're always here doing every single thing we ask of you with a big smile on your face. And thank you very much. You're a wonderful ambassador for our community.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
I will second those comments by Ms. Murphy McGraw. We've had a need in that department for a full-time employee for the past couple of years, and Ms. Fody has stepped up, really doing much more work than a part-time employee should be doing over the past many months. So we're very pleased that we're going to have her full-time. She did successfully complete her civil service requirements for that, and we are very thankful to have such a loyal and dedicated employee. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada,
Aye.
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-46, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution establishing a records advisory board.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just want to continue thanking everybody. Alexis Kim, thank you very much for all the work that you put into this and the ADA transition plan. But I know this project has been very labor intensive for you and working very closely with the town clerk. Thank you both very much for making this happen.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question for the town attorney. Is it proper for us to abstain being appointed to this advisory board for myself and the supervisor on this particular resolution?
Probably be safe to abstain.
Thank you.
Any further questions? It's a good question, Bill. Okay, seeing no further comments, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Abstain?
Supervisor Syed.
Abstain.
So 2 abstentions and 3 ayes.
And this motion passes. Next resolution, 2020-47, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution retaining professional engineering services on an as-need basis for 2020.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second?
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-48, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution calling for a public hearing on a special use permit for a mixed-use building at 2220 Crescent Road.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-49, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing a B&L change order for Aqueduct Park Engineering.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-50, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution employing a part-time clerk in the police department.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion?
So I just want to welcome Jim Walsh back. He retired last week. We had a very nice piping out ceremony, but as I discussed earlier, my committee report, we're going to have 2 clerks now that will be down handling the window and then doing all the discovery work, and new bail reform requires that we do these things at a very timely basis. So I want to welcome Jim back.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-51, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the purchase and upfitting of vehicles for use in the police department.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-52, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution calling for a public hearing on proposed local law to amend Chapter 203 entitled Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of the Town of Niskuna to prohibit parking on the corner of Schraber Drive and Balltown Road.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-53, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution calling for a public hearing on proposed local law to amend Chapter 151 entitled Peddling and Soliciting of the Code of the Town of Niskuna regarding licensing fees and revoking of licenses.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is Is there any discussion?
Yes, I want to thank our clerk, Michelle Martinelli, with her assistance on this particular amendment to the code and the law. It really deals with revocation of peddlers' permits in our town. It brought to our attention that some peddlers and solicitors have been using some tactics that, make our residents uncomfortable. And so this change in our code is going to allow us some more flexibility with aggressive door-to-door salesmen. And it makes it, as I said earlier, consistent with our neighboring communities and state code. So that's what we're doing with this particular change in our code.
Thank you. Are there any further comments? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-54, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing payment to a member of the Niskuna Police Department for unused leave in recognition of unpaid military leave taken in 2019.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Aye,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-55, sponsored by Councilwoman Jakewith. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing a renewal contract with Schenectady County for mowing and maintenance at Grand Boulevard and Union Street.
Thank you, and I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. I'm now going to motion for executive session to discuss a contractual matter concerning the potential purchase of land. Can I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, before we motion to go in, at the conclusion of executive session, we will be adjourned. So with that being said, all those in favor of entering into executive session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're now going to enter into executive session. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening.
Did you want to get that? I don't know. He interviewed me for it, so I don't know. I guess we should, right? So.
Give a little more presentation. Thank you for your work on that. So that's going to be in March.
Yeah.